How many of you think that caste is a thing of the past? I see a few hands. How many of you think that caste is a matter in the rural rather than the urban? Again, see a few hands. My friends, the world is changing at a very fast pace. Cryptocurrency is the next big thing. People are buying tickets to go to outer space, and robots are taking over our lives. In all this, how does caste really matter? Or does it matter? There's everything. Why are we even talking about caste, a very age-old tradition? My friends, caste matters. From who our friends are, to why you're sitting in this hall listening to me talk about caste is about caste. What is caste? Caste is an age-old system that divides the humans in this country, specifically based on the Varna system. The three upper Varnas, which is the Brahmin, Kshatriya and Vaishya, and the lower Varna, which is the Shudra, and outside of this, the Ati Shudra or Dalits, or formerly known as untouchables, who are there specifically to provide services to the upper Varnas. Caste over the years have changed in shape and form. It is like an amoeba that changes its shape based on the current situation and based on modern India. Caste continues to perpetuate in a subtle extreme. We may not even feel it sometimes, but in a much higher extreme, we can see it in headlines in the form of atrocities and violence that happens in this country. Now you must be wondering, caste, it doesn't matter to me. I don't ask my friends their caste. I don't even know what my caste is. Castelessness is a privilege that only the dominant enjoy, says Mr. Justice Y. Chandrachud, who is a Supreme Court judge. And he continues on to say that because of this privilege, the dominant enjoy social, political capital and economic capital. Let me ask you, and I want you to reflect back to your school days, to your college days. Who were your friends? Who were the cliques that you hang out with? Who are the people that you work with? Why are all these people from the same caste? Why do you have these caste groups that we then we change caste to communities? I will give you another example that probably all of us or many of us have experienced this or know of family members who've experienced this. The matrimonial sites. If you go to matrimonial sites, you will see that they're based on the caste. So much so that they have, and they use it under the garb of community, but when you actually go down the drop-down menu, they're based on subcastes. And so much so that 60 subcastes just under the Brahmin alone in one of the sites. And of course, in other castes as well. This created such an uproar in the United Kingdom that they had to ban one of these sites. So everything on marriage, whether it's arranged marriage or whether it's love marriage, it is based on caste. And therefore, for anybody to say that caste doesn't matter, it does matter. I'm going to take you through some examples of everyday casteism, where you face it on an everyday basis. A normal conversation that you would have with somebody, probably at a networking meeting, or probably if you're going to employ somebody, would be, what is your name? And he tells you, my name is Pavan. And then you probe further. No, but what is your surname? Why are we so stuck on surnames? Why do we want to know what is their surname? It's because in India, surnames is based on the caste identity. And therefore, we push further to know their surnames. We want to know where they're coming from so that we start then thinking in which box to put that person. We all know that there are stereotypes that we work with in our daily lives. You must have heard these statements. You know, you are a banya, so you must be a good businessman. Or I'm from the Rajput class, so I must be brave. So what are we trying to say here? We're trying to say that if you're a banya and you must be you have to be a good businessman. And if you're a Rajput, you have to be a warrior. But if you're a Dalit, you have to be a cleaner or continue to do the dirty jobs. In a way, stereotypes are reinforcing casteism in this country or wherever we practice caste. Recently, the Twitter CEO was appointed and a lot of people took pride in his caste. You must have seen these discussions around. On one hand, this is happening. On the other hand, 90% of all women engaged in manual scavenging are from the Dalit community, are Dalit women. Women who are discriminated and further marginalized because of her gender, because of her caste, and because of her class. 90% of all menial labor in this country, whether it be in the garment factories or whether it be in the construction labor, are all from the Dalit or Adivasi communities. 70 plus years post-independence, we still have this. We still have these forms continuing to work. If we look at the country today, there are about 900 odd deaths of people going down sewers. And yet it doesn't irk our conscience. A study done in the newsrooms of 121 newsrooms, there was zero representation from Dalits and Adivasis, which form, my friends, 25% of the population of this country. 90% of all boardrooms have almost no representation. Mostly they're from the dominant caste. So we see how here we're continuing to have these, we're continuing to have sectors that do not have any representation from the community. We use in our daily vocabulary, you must have heard people say, bhangi jaisi dikti hai. Or you must have heard people say, chamar jaise harkate mat karo. Or tu chandal hai. Recently, some celebrities were, caught using these terms, and, that created a lot of headlines. What are we talking about? These are subcastes, and we are using them in derogatory terms. Bhangi is a subcaste of the Dalit caste that is mostly engaged in cleaning the streets and cleaning the latrines. Chamar is also a subcaste of the scheduled caste, and they're involved in leather tanning. And Chandala, in the modern day India, is used to denote cruelty. But actually, they come from the word Chandala or Chandalam, which means people who are engaged in cleaning corpses. Disposal of corpses. So in our daily language, people who say that I have nothing to do with caste, I don't believe in caste, continue to use this language. Continue to use this language to perpetuate the age-old system without realizing that these words come with a historical baggage and sociological baggage. This is in no way an exhaustive list. There are other words that you must have heard of: jungli, kasai, nai, mostly to denote people who are a little messy, who are inferior than you, who are lower than you. I will now like to move on to what is known as urban untouchability. I'm sure that many of you in your houses have domestic help. Does she have a seat at your table to have dinner with you? Why do we have separate plates and glasses for our domestic help? Why is it that she's always sitting on the floor? Why do we have separate lifts in high-rise buildings, one for laborers and domestic help, whereas one for the residents of those societies? You might tell me it's not about caste, but class. It's about poor and rich. So I will give you an example. So if there's a poor priest that comes to collect alms at your house, would you treat that priest the same way you treated the domestic help? Would you give him another plate that you don't use? Or would you ask him to sit on the floor? I don't think so. But you do that to your domestic help, although they have the same monetary standing. So if that is the case, why is it that we treat them differently? It's only because of caste that we treat them so differently. My friends, 40,000 crimes are registered under the Prevention of Atrocities Act in this country. These are violence and cases against Dalits and Adivasis. There's a high level of impunity that exists because lack of political will and will from the community to address the system. In my 12 years of work on Dalit rights, I've come across innumerable hundreds of stories of struggle, resilience, of people standing up and fighting, of people who've lost their lives just because of caste. Today, I'm going to narrate their stories. My name is Surjeet. My hand was cut off because I asked for my wages. My name is Lata. I was beaten up by my landlord when he came to know I was Dalit. My name is Rani. I was raped and killed when I was walking to go to school. I can go on and on about these stories, but I want to think back and reflect on what these stories mean. I'm here standing on this platform, and I want you to reflect and push you to think that why is this happening in this country? We are not living in a casteless society. We are living in a caste-blind society. And I'm sure that we work together. There are some suggestions that I would like to give before I conclude. That to be able to address the system, we have to address or believe or acknowledge our privilege. And unless we acknowledge a privilege, we will not be able to address it. So the first thing is to acknowledge the privilege so you can address it. There's a lot of anti-caste literature, movies, documentaries. Let's go through that. I'd urge all of you to read it. Read Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar. who believed in the annihilation of caste. There's a lot of movies that you can watch. And finally, my friends, start from where you are, with your families, with your friends, with the communities that you belong to, the companies that you work in. Look at what is the diversity of your workforce. Include more diverse workforce, a more inclusive workforce. There are many more suggestions that I can give, but within the limited time, I would stop here with the suggestions. But I know that these days everybody's talking about two Indias. But nobody's talking about the underbelly, the third India, which is ridden with caste-based violence and atrocities, and discrimination continues unabated. We need to move together to make India a more inclusive and equitable India. For that, we need to come together. And I hope that we will come together. Please remember that no one is free until all of us are free. Jai Bhim, and thank you.